Belonging to more than one group can often leave children of mixed heritage feeling that they're outsiders, a part of the whole, but always apart from it. Growing up multicultural wasn't always easy for the 7 people we interviewed for this series. They say they often felt bullied, isolated, and discriminated against. In part 2 of my series, A Bridge Between Cultures, we hear firsthand what life was like for Jolene Ivy, Alejandra Melnick, Ramon Koryanoff, Joe Howard, Jeff Liao, Leanna Wenderoth, and Janine Samuels.
We didn't really talk much about race growing up, and I think that there was more of a just keep it undisturbed.
While home may have been a sanctuary of sorts for children of multicultural backgrounds, going to school for the first time was often quite a challenge. Psychology Today reports that one of the most vexing part of the multiracial experience is being asked, "What are you?" or "Where are you from?"
I would joke about that a little bit when I was a kid, because I would get some of those questions in, like, I'm from Maryland, and people say, no, where are you really from? So there was always sort of this question of, you're not really from here.
If somebody thinks I'm white, they don't say anything about it, right? If somebody thinks maybe I'm something else, then they'll ask, and I usually just tell them I'm black.
When someone would ask me, well, what are you? I would say I was tan, and my older sister would say that she was beige. Like, there was no, like, black, white, biracial. We didn't really understand that.
If I don't feel like delving into it, I will just tell the person I'm mixed. I won't exactly go into detail about what my ethnic background is, because I feel like that's something that's personal. I have to get to know you first, and then we can both share each other's stories. So yeah, sometimes I definitely don't have the tolerance for it.
Sometimes the comments are less than kind, a topic recently featured in the new TV comedy show Mixed-ish.
What are you weirdos mixed with?
What's mixed?
Being called Oreo cookie or zebra, and kids making fun of us because we had a black father and a white mother.
People would, again, see my name on paper and sort of expect me to be 100% full Chinese, maybe born in China type things, and would make occasional off-color remarks, comments about Chinese food smelling bad, which I don't know where they're coming from that.
I was teased as a child only by black children, because that's all I had access to, right? I didn't really have any relationship with anybody else. And I did get picked on by some of the kids in the neighborhood. I learned to run pretty fast.
With my black friends, there was a little more of, you don't quite fit with us. People would say I don't talk the same way, or I don't look the same.
I had my feelings hurt when people might call you chink or gook or something like that.
It did leave an impression on you.
Not a persecuted impression, right? I mean, it made me angry.
In his youth, Ramon Koryanoff says he found kids suddenly less confrontational after the release of a June Reed commercial advertising martial arts.
Nobody buys me. Nobody buys me either.
A lot of Asian kids growing up were kind of lumped into that category. So any young people, any children that experienced bullying or had some sort of racial epithets thrown at them, hurled at them as a child, all of a sudden there was a new dynamic in town. There was a sense of, well, we're proud of our heritage and we can defend ourselves.
Several people we interviewed said they found the isolation their parents experienced more hurtful than the negative comments thrown their way.
My brothers, they would talk about, my mom used to go to their soccer games, right, and watch, and then they would notice, when they look into the sidelines, here was all the American parents, and then over to the side was my mom, the one Vietnamese mother that was there watching the game.
In this picture, that my mom is walking down the aisle by herself.
So it's still emotional because her father
her father didn't go.
Janine Samuel's parents married in 1971, shortly after the Supreme Court declared that interracial marriages were no longer illegal. Prince George's councilwoman, Jolene Ivey, never met her maternal grandmother and only once met her mother's father. Ivey's parents were married in the 1950s in the District of Columbia. At the time, interracial marriages were illegal in many states, including Maryland and Virginia. She recalls the story when her mother told her parents that she was marrying a black man.
She took out his picture, and there's his 8x10 glossy of this black man, and they lost their minds. So her dad grabbed her and ran her to the airport and told her that her mother and her sisters were going to have her committed to an insane asylum.
It wasn't until her mother's death last summer that Jolene Ivey was finally able to visit the Tennessee farm where her mother grew up.
And there was this tree in the front yard that looked absolutely perfect for climbing and reading in. And that's where a lot of her ashes were spread from. One of our sons climbed up to the top of the tree and kind of spread them out from there. So I feel like she's home.
And while many biracial children say at times it could be challenging growing up, they say there have also been many advantages to being of mixed heritage. And tomorrow, in part 3 of my series, A Bridge Between Cultures, we take a look at those benefits.